It's time to start for real, Josh Weinstein. This is it. This is No Laugh Track Podcast. This is the blah, blah, blumph time I've talked to Josh J. Elvis Weinstein on this podcast. I'm not exactly sure how many, but it's been
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I've listened to you on your podcast say, you've complimented me in saying that we never run out of things to talk about. So the pressure is on because it's been over 2 years since we've done this. So.
Absolutely. And such a busy 2 years.
Well, there is that. There is that. So the last time that we chatted was because you were in town doing your week at Acme back in 2019.
Wow.
All the way back in 2019, sir.
And I believe that was my album recording week, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes. Chunks, who I see over your shoulder right now.
Yes.
I see the album cover over your shoulder in
That's
your
true.
office right now.
This is my office. I don't put that out for the public in the house.
I know there's one in every room. Go on. CD size you use for coasters, right?
That's right.
So the last time we talked, you were here doing the album, and now you're going to be back in May recording No, you're not recording another album, but you are coming. You are going to do what I wrote it down here. May 11th through 14. You're going to be back for another headlining week.
I'm very excited. Yes, I am. And I'm writing stand-up furiously now for that very week.
You've had 2 years to be prepared. You don't need to write furiously now.
I didn't have the gig on the books for 2 years, to be fair.
Fair enough. Did you have your date already in 2020 before everything shut down here?
No, I came in for the Acme 30th anniversary, and Lewis said, pick your week. And so I picked my week.
Perfect. Now, the people who listen to this podcast know that you've done it quite a few times with our mutual buddy, Chris Bliss.
Yes, who just came through town, right?
And then a couple of weeks ago, he was here, and it was sort of a, hey, this might be it. This might be my last time around.
He's, on a lot of levels. He's left the country, as we know. He moved to Spain. So that kind of gets you out of the loop a little bit. And not a young man, my friend Chris Bliss. Not a young man. Let's be honest. He's honest about it. So
he's claiming 66, I think.
It's certainly ballpark.
Certainly. I'm not saying which year he claimed that, but he's claiming that. Right. So now that he's living in Spain,
if you mean that's the year of his high school graduation, then yes. Just kidding.
Did with your buddy living in Spain now, does that give you any reason to go visit Spain?
Except it's only one. That's just one reason, and it's not enough yet. So.
It's not enough yet?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to visit Spain, but it's not. It won't be I gotta see Bliss trip because he just did a video chat with me yesterday. So.
Did he do any material? I have to know. Did he do any material in this video chat?
No. He was not entertaining at all, really.
What would he say about you?
Probably the same, except with a slightly meaner expression on his face.
Fair enough. So one of the things that you're known for,
if there is a thing,
one of my favorite things about you, Josh, is following you on Twitter.
Oh, good.
As I've complimented you many times. For many years, you're one of the best. It's
but each time feels like the first. I have to say, when the compliments are always fresh. They're always fresh.
Should I come up with something new? Are you criticizing, or they're okay? Good.
No, once a year you say a nice thing. What's so bad about that?
I appreciate that. Here's one that I want to start off with. One of my favorites that I saw from you recently.
All right.
And it's about the game that's been sweeping the nation for several months now, Wordle. And I love your take on Wordle. Your tweet was, I do love a game where the best score takes the least skill.
It's true.
Which is fantastic.
I finally got to my number. I got a one banger that day. And I realized what an empty feeling it actually was. You think it's the be all end all of Wordle, and it's not. You feel empty. Is that all there is?
What? So are you still so now you have to pick? You're obviously picking the same word every day. Is that how that happens?
No, but that day that I got the one banger, it was like I kind of veered like one letter off one of my common opening words. I don't have a everyday word.
Oh, me neither. What do you think is the so if 1 is like a fluke and it's really not the best score, what do you think is the best score?
2 feels the best.
2 is the
where
best.
Where you get a little bit of data from that first one, so there actually was some thought to what number 2 be. You know, the more it feels like a game, the more that it feels like a puzzle you've solved rather than a random act of fate that it's better.
Yeah. Do you?
The other one I like is that those when you the 5s and 6 where there actually feels like there's something at stake. Because I've never lost a Wordle. I have never gone over.
Well, I have, and it takes 24 hours to recover.
I'm a wordsmith.
Yeah, yes, you are.
I only use 5-letter words, oddly enough. So,
one final thing I want to talk about that. Do you have like a group like I do that you compare scores with?
No, just my wife every day.
And
well, I mean, I'm winning, but she takes her share.
Okay. I had to do a pep talk in my house because I compare with my wife and 2 of my kids, and my wife was she wasn't doing well for a few days, losing interest. I was like, no, we're in this together. I competing with you makes it more interesting.
My wife is far more competitive than me. Okay. Far more. Yes. Like okay. I bought her a pinball machine years ago, and she stopped playing because she couldn't beat me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It was ugly.
What was it, a kiss?
And I'm not wired in a way that will let her win. So
what was on the,
it was a Williams Beat Time machine from the late 60s. It was Beatles themed.
Oh, okay. Like real Beatles or knockoff?
Well, it was a hybrid. This machine was a hybrid because it was originally a knockoff. It was the Boodles.
Are you serious?
And seriously. And then a guy here in LA bought up several of these Boodles machines and using the Beatles Saturday morning cartoon animation art turned them into Beatles machines. And in fact, he gave one to Ringo, I think, just to keep the heat off. And,
yeah. Keep one Beatle on his side. I love that.
And so the gameplay is the same as the original Williams Beat Time, but this was his reimagining of like if they had bought the license, this is what the machine would have been.
I love that. That's fantastic.
So it was very cool.
That is very cool. Hey, I just quickly, I'm noticing over your head, I'm looking at you in your office here, there's a sign that has your last name on it. And I heard from listening to an episode of your podcast, there's a kind of an interesting story behind that sign.
That is a yard sign from my father's 1974-ish, maybe 75-ish, St. Louis Park, Minnesota school board campaign, which he emerged victorious.
Woohoo!
And eventually became school board chairman.
Whoa!
But as a kid, we would all. It was a family affair to like go out and we'd go door to door and hand campaign literature to people and stuff.
You did?
Yeah. Going
door to door for anything is not fun.
Well, in the 70s, it was a little less daunting.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
You probably weren't running into those no soliciting signs that you would see.
Not so much of that.
80s and 90s.
No, if people opened the door and saw this little fat kid with school board literature, they tended to be nice, and they didn't show you their dick or anything.
Well, it was St. Louis Park.
It was like reverse trick or treating.
Is that right? I love that. I keep kicking the thing here. I hope I'm not messing up the sound. I can't. I need to sit still here. So, Josh.
Yes.
Another thing I want to talk to you about. We're going to talk more about your week here at Acme. So how much? Yeah. How much are you? So what? How are you prepping for that right now?
I'm writing stuff.
You're not going to show up and just do chunks. Word for word.
There will be chunks because I feel I actually have the hard data that says not everyone's heard chunks. So I feel safe using some of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no point in doing it if I don't have new stuff. So I'm in that, I don't know. I'm not, as you know, I sort of dip in and out of stand up. So I'm not always in stand-up writing mode, but there's a certain antenna that goes up when you're in stand-up writing mode, and it's up right now.
Okay. Are you getting some stage time in California right now?
I'll do probably a couple sets, but maybe not.
Would you ever did you do any Zoom comedy over the last couple?
I did a couple shows. Yeah. It wasn't, it's not stand-up comedy, but it's still comedy of a thing. It's a kind of comedy. It doesn't have any of the same sort of feeling of doing stand-up, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it like this, sitting in a chair, and so right there, you're literally not doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah, by definition. Yes, that's very true. Like, I know you've gone out, like Tom Segura, for example, has brought you on tour.
By the way, don't really dig deep into the "what have you been up to" thing today, because it really it's not that deep a pool. So
Josh, what I need you to do is I assume in a file behind you have your like a daily planner. Could we go week by week for the last 2 years and see what you've been doing, please?
No, what I do have though in the file behind me, if you look, let me this thing right here.
Yes.
That is a drum head signed by George, Ringo, and Paul that Chris Bliss gave me before he left the country.
What?
Yes.
Well, that's pretty cool. How did he get that? Is there a good story behind that?
It's not a good story, no.
Not a good story.
But it was nice of him to give it to me, and I proudly display it.
Can we confirm? And then
it has a certificate of authenticity with it.
You beat me to it, yeah.
But I haven't independently gone out to certify it because I have no intent of selling it. So.
Yep.
Until Chris dies, and then and all bets are off. So sometime in the next year or two, I'll probably turn.
In the next year or two. Fair enough. Fair enough. So let's go back to 2014. All right, we're time traveling now. 2014.
All right, I'm riding in my time machine
now.
Yep. It's a bucking ride. Weirdly enough. You'd think it would be smooth. But
yep. A couple speed bumps.
Quantum ain't smooth, baby. All right, we're in 2014.
So
I don't know why I'm like playing the clown for you today.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you, because I'm not, so you have to be. 2014 is the year that the filming of I Need You to Kill, your documentary, took place.
Is that the case? Wow, long time ago now.
And then it was finally released, for people who don't remember, so you could see it in 2017, which is now a mere 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're talking 5-year anniversary, 5-year birthday, however you want to call that.
Are you asking me how that makes me feel?
Well, I do want to. Well, I'm going to tell you first of all that in preparation to talking to you today, I rewatched I Need You to Kill.
I have not rewatched it since its release.
I listened back to all of the No Laugh Track podcasts I did with everyone involved. The first ones you did right after the trip. So They were, in 2014 or 2015. I talked.
We were all giddy. We were giddy after that trip.
Yes.
Pete, Chad, and Segura were in love. And
yes.
And everyone had,
Yes, they were. So I listened back to all of those, including the first one I did back with you, and it was a you and Chris Bliss week. So I listened back to that one as well. So a lot of stuff has come back to my memory that I have in my notes in front of me here. The movie, that was only, I'll admit, that was only the second time I've seen it. It was that first time we saw it in that theater, like preview thing that you did here.
Right.
In Minneapolis, and then just recently. Now, first I want to ask you, was that version we watched in the theater the same one that is on Amazon right now?
Yes.
It's exactly the same.
As far as I know, it's exactly the same. Unless Amazon pulled some sort of weird trickery. I only made the one.
Fair enough. So I'm sure some of the things I'm going to ask you about today are things that you and I have probably covered a little bit here or there over the years in talking about the doc. But I guess I want to ask you right now, like, What memory do you have of the before you even went? Like the first hey, we're thinking about doing this. What do you remember from that?
Well, it was Lewis Lee called me and said, I hear you're making, because I was already making Michael DeBar, Who Do You Want Me to Be, which is my other doc.
Yeah.
And I had already sort of cut a first draft. The thing that made that thing take so long was intellectual property rights. But so Lewis calls me and says, hey, I'm thinking of taking some comics to Asia and thinking it should be a doc. And I'm thinking I'm going to ask, find some investors to pay for the movie. Are you interested in it? And he had just heard, like I said, I was making docs, from me probably, because we talk. And I said, well, you should probably watch my doc that I've already made before you commit to me making another one,
Yeah.
And so I sent him the other doc, and he told me the story of how he started watching it at 5:30. So that if he had to quit watching it because he hated it, he could give me the excuse that he had to deal with the club. And I was like, what? How do you think I have this kind of data on your watching? But it was nice that he was protecting my feelings so much. And
well thought out.
And so he watched it all the way through, and he called me up right away. He said, I watched it all the way through, and I didn't know if I would. And he said, I love it. In fact, you know what? I'm going to pay for the doc, because if we ask someone else to pay for it, they might tell you what to do. And I want you to make exactly the movie you want to make. And I said, I'm in.
Yeah.
So, because you don't hear that a lot, ever, really. And so that was the genesis of it. And, Lewis was the one who cast it. He was the one who chose the comics. And I just tried to figure out a way to shoot it, and that Ryan Brennan was a great partner in shooting it, because he had done the kind of coverage I wanted to do. He had done a season of the NFL, the Hard Knocks.
Oh yeah.
So so it was he was very adept at fly on the wall kind of documenting. And he and so he assembled our little crew, and they were the right guys for the gig. And it was really truly one of the great experiences of my career, because it was all people I liked doing a thing I love, about a thing I love, and my only worry is that, can I get a movie? Can I actually, is there enough of a story I can craft out of all this footage to make it feel like a real story and to make it a real movie instead of just a bunch of stand-ups spliced together,
What can you say? What was your vision of that before you went there?
I didn't have a vision, because that's part of the fun of documentary making.
Sure.
But when we got to Singapore, I knew I wasn't collecting stuff at the rate I needed, and I had a sit down kind of with everybody going, we need more. This has to happen faster. This, and it wasn't really a panic attack, but it was like I only have 12 days of shooting to make a full feature film.
Yeah.
And that is nothing, because it's not like you're shooting all day, every day, some days you're flying to Singapore, some days, and we have to shoot basically a comedy special every night of the week. So at some point we have to stop shooting other things and go to the club and set up to shoot that night's show, because it's not like we have two crews or two sets of gear. So it was really, it was just, you hope. And luckily, I feel like it worked out. I feel like you definitely kind of feel like you were on the adventure with everybody.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that Chad said about being there was that he basically never slept. Do you remember getting much sleep there? It was just nonstop, right?
It wasn't just that it was nonstop, is there was so much jet lag involved too.
Yeah.
It was just, there's whenever you're dealing with that kind of jet lag. And my other doc, I went to Japan, and it was the same thing. It's like everything has this slightly dreamlike quality to it, as you're living it. So
if somehow people haven't seen it yet, it starts out with a scene from a talk show.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
So I remember when the movie finally came out in 2017, it was kind of there was some unfortunate timing.
Well, it was terrible timing.
Terrible.
Like I had turned in the movie, and then between the time I turned in the movie and its release date, the whole Louis C.K. thing blows up, and the movie opens with a clip from Jimmy Fallon's show of Louis C.K. specifically singing the praises of Louis Lee,
like a very sweet moment.
Yeah, a really sweet moment, and as a storyteller, I don't regret using it, but on every other level, I regret that we used it. But it would have been truly a very expensive thing to do, to recall the print and change the beginning of the movie in the way we would have had to make it acceptable. So the truth of the matter is there was literally, and I don't want to say his name, but the only person who ever brought it up was a certain writer in Minneapolis, who first said, let me write an article about this problem you have so I won't have to mention it in the review. And then he opened the review with, I couldn't get over the fact. So,
well,
but literally it never came up.
No, right. And,
and the fact is, first of all, you forget it very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think people just I don't think people placed it in a certain point in time. I think people understand there was a before and after with Louis C.K.
Yeah. And recent Grammy winner. I mean,
I know, how fucking disgusting is that? God damn.
The only reason I knew I could even bring that up is I saw you tweeted about it. So yeah. Yep. It's just funny.
It's not like I took a stand with my tweet. It was a joke about sticking his dick in his Grammy, but
Somebody had to. So I'm gonna go back, if you don't mind. I want to just kind of randomly bring up some of the stuff from the like I told you, I listened back to the podcast episodes. I'm just kind of randomly bring up some stuff that was brought to my attention. Listen back into those. Well, first of all,
you just want to see what triggers me. Is this what this is?
Exactly. Yeah, positively or negatively. Hopefully negatively. That's probably better. People love when people get upset. But while I'm looking this over, I will just. There were a lot of open mic comics and just comics in general that that were working there that weren't with you guys. That you list their names, their characters in the movie, very briefly. Yes. Do you have any idea what any of those people are up to these days?
I don't. I did not. I have not done any follow up. I know that at least a couple of the Singapore guys, Jinx Yao, who was my favorite comic find of the whole trip, and another guy from Singapore, they made some splash, and I think one of them got a Netflix special, or at least an Asian Netflix special, or So.
Oh
wow. The thing, the Hong Kong crew, it's mostly hobbyists, really. I think the Singapore guys were trying to make livings at it, and the Hong Kong crew, I think it was mostly hobbyism, because you can't live cheap in Hong Kong,
I see. That makes sense. Where was it that Chad said that they were that the Americans were getting crapped on, basically? Like the open micers were like, this is the way Chad described it. Well, they weren't the best jokes, but we're definitely easy targets.
Yeah, I mean, it was all mostly in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was mostly where I think artistically it was the thriving scene, kind of. But like I said, it wasn't a lot of people who were out on the road. It's like there was a lot of people who did a couple of stages a week, every week.
Now, in the doc,
and I think and it's all kind of gone underground since then. That's the thing about the timing of our doc, is it really was right before the crackdown by mainland China on Hong Kong about any kind of free speech and dissent, and so I think it's not the atmosphere that it was when we filmed there any longer. Like I showed a guy telling a Tiananmen joke in that movie, and I kind of regret it, because now there's I don't know if he's still in Hong Kong, but it was like borderline brave to do a Tiananmen joke in Hong Kong at the time, and now it would be a huge problem for him.
Oh yeah, but you haven't heard any blowback from him or from
no. And and I the chances that you know, it would be on anyone's radar are very, very small, you know. But
was the copy of the movie that's on like Amazon China, is it only like 20 minutes long?
I bet it's not on Amazon China.
I bet it's not either. I bet it's not either. So before you come here to do your week at Acme, May 11 to 14, will you need to pull out a copy of Chunks and listen to it like Tom Segura did in Hong Kong, and he bought his old album off iTunes to learn some of the jokes again?
Yes, I will. I mean, I don't, you know, I think of that specific thing when I do it.
Do you really?
But yeah, but it's like, why not listen to it when you had the best chops on this material?
Yeah, right.
You know? So, because I don't, you know, you lose it. You do lose it if you don't use it. You know, your brain is like, you can hold a whole lot of material in your brain if you're doing comedy all the time.
Yeah.
But if there's no use for it, your brain just goes, yeah, I'm gonna free up this RAM.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I at the end, I'm skipping to the end of the documentary when the credits show up.
Okay.
I noticed you thank your wife, of course, and Lewis, Acme, and your dogs.
Yeah.
You thanked your dogs at the credits.
Yeah. Why not? It's my movie.
Did you tell them that you thanked them? They can't read, as far as I know.
No, but they helped me get through it.
Did they help you get through it? They help you get through it.
I didn't even remember I did that.
Oh, yeah. You did that.
I think I also put in my fake Humane Society joke, didn't I?
Yes.
No animals were harmed in the making of this film. Conversely, none were helped.
Yes, I absolutely remember that one. Did you? I know a thing that I was asking those guys back then is did they bring back stuff? Like I know the guys all went and got suits made in, really cheap, tailored suits. Yeah. Tom told me he brought back some slippers.
They weren't really cheap suits, by the way. They were high end suits that at a good price.
Oh, I see. Yeah. High end at a good price. Did you end up with one of those?
I did not, because I didn't have time. I regretted it though. I think I've lost enough weight since then that it would just be a thing in my closet.
You'd have to put it under glass, like this is the I need you to kill outfit. No one wears anymore. Like
Segura is way smaller than his, although I haven't seen him post-pandemic, but he was, last time I saw him, he was way smaller than his I need you to kill suit.
Right? So I definitely don't want to forget the fact that in the documentary, it is addressed about that he wasn't an original choice necessarily.
Yes.
Tom Segura wasn't.
Yes.
And it doesn't get said in the documentary who was the first choice. But on the podcast, he did say who the first choice was.
I think it was Jake, wasn't it? Jake Johansson.
Jake Johansson. Yeah.
Who I saw for the first time in years and years at the Acme anniversary.
Yeah.
It was fun to see him. I literally canceled my prom date to feature for Jake Johansson when I was in high school.
You're kidding.
I am not.
That was a show. Well, it would have been here. You were still living here.
It was at the Comedy Gallery. And it was there in 1988.
Oh my goodness!
Because I was featuring, for God's sake.
At 17, probably, right?
Yeah, I think so.
My oldest daughter is 15 and does not know what she wants to do with her life. How did you know that? How did you have such a strong? It just boggles my mind. Like I could think about put myself in that situation, my daughter. Like how did you know at 15 to be out working at clubs?
Well, it's sort of just kind of. I mean, the very first step was my friend Barry Golob, who found the open stage or open. We called them open stage back then. It's an open mic
that's
now,
right, yeah.
But. At the Ha Ha Club, which was in Uptown Minneapolis, and the night before he called me, and he and I were both voracious stand-up fans at this time in our teenage years. But we were hanging out on one Saturday night, and he told me, "Hey, I'm going to do stand-up at the Ha Ha Club tomorrow night." And rather than going, "Hey, I'll come and root you on and be supportive," I went, "I'll do it too." And so that's what I did. I wrote my act like 2 hours before the open mic, and got enough laughs to make it my life.
Is there any joke that you could do from that time that would work now?
Yeah, there's a couple, not ones that I'm proud of, but solid enough. Yeah. I mean, I think, that's how you make it as a teenage comedian, is you have a skill to write jokes,
Sure.
That's what made me stand out. It wasn't like I had this great persona or even this much charisma on stage. It was like, fuck, this kid can write jokes, and I started writing jokes for other people too, and so that's how I got a lot of my early road work was, I give a headliner a half dozen tags after their set for their act, and they go, hey, want to come out and open for me?
So if you wouldn't mind, could you repeat a story that you did tell here before, but it was the first one you did after the trip to Asia, and you talked about, and the reason I think this is timely now is because since the last time I talked to you, Louis Anderson passed away, and it's a story about selling a joke to Louis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You moved to California, lived with Jeff.
I lived with Jeff Cesar. Yeah. When I moved out to Los Angeles, and for the first 2 weeks or so, I stayed at Jeff Cesario's apartment, who I had breakfast with yesterday, coincidentally.
Oh, look at that.
And about a week into that, and Jeff was really, really kind about. Jeff had actually flown me out to LA from Minneapolis to write a project with him, and he had hired me as I wasn't in the Writers Guild yet, so they called it a consultant on this NBC show that he was on, and so Jeff, and he had me open for him at the Guthrie, so Jeff was like a big supporter.
Yeah.
From early on, so I come out here, and like a week into the trip, I'm out golfing with Jeff and Louis Anderson at this course in Burbank, and like halfway through the round, someone comes out and goes, Jeff, there's an emergency phone call for you in the clubhouse, and so Jeff like goes back to the clubhouse, going, what the hell is happening? And it's his manager on the phone saying, they need you to do Letterman tomorrow night. We need you to get on a plane. So like he comes back out from the, in a golf cart from the clubhouse, takes his clubs off my cart, goes, gotta go. Oh, here's the keys to the apartment. We'll be gone when you get home.
Yeah.
And he disappears. So now it's just Louis and I. And Louis, who I had sort of started, Louis knew about me, had met me in Minneapolis before I left, and he wanted me to write for him.
Okay.
And this was hooked up by another comic named Joni Marchenko, who went on to be like the showrunner of Will and Grace. And but she was like this friend of Louis in LA, who Louis said, if you want to do stand-up, the place to go start is Minneapolis. And so she came here for a couple of years and then moved back to Los Angeles. But we became friends in the time that she was there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a lot of backstory because I'm remembering it all at once.
Okay.
So yeah, so I had this bit that it was this bit about the Dork Tax, how much, there's the central premise being there should be a Dork Tax. It was essentially the joke. It was like, did you get a haircut? Got them all cut. Ching ching, $2, something like that. That was basically the bit. And so ching ching became the callback.
Yeah.
If someone said something stupid from the audience, I could go ching ching, huge laugh. It was like this really hacky device that I had, and I'm okay with it because I was 20. But Louis wanted it bad. He wanted it really bad. He wanted this bit.
Yeah.
And and the bit worked great. It really did work great. I can't say anything else. But and I'm like, Louis, you can't have it. It's my, it's like a big bit of my act. And I still want it. Give it to me. It's like, no, Louis, I want the joke. And so I said, okay, thinking I would shut him down, I was like, all right, I want $3,000 for it.
Yeah.
He's like, fine. Because I he probably would have paid me 10, but I was like, with that 3,000, I was like, I couldn't pass that up at that point because that was probably about my net worth.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I bought all my first apartment's furniture with ching ching money. And then he did that. He went on. I went with him to do it. He did it on Dennis Miller's talk show, he did it once, and when he did it, it was like chang chang, chang chang, and it didn't quite work. And I don't think he ever did it again after that night.
But you keep all the money.
I kept the money.
Yeah, damn right. Hey, so I do want to mention that there are, like you said about putting the documentary together. That
by the way, did that line up with the first telling of the story?
100%. Okay, except that you added even more better details. But yeah, good. All the major facts were dead on. So yeah,
I like.
So well done. I have done something like that in the past, and some details start changing. I'm like, this isn't what I was expecting, but okay, hey, you can be creative, add a couple things, why not? Earlier you were saying about how when you're putting the documentary together, or you were like a day in or so, and it was like, guys, you were getting worried about having enough to make the movie.
A come to Jesus meeting, for lack of a better word. And as a part of the result of that meeting was my cameraman Damien got detained by Singaporean police for putting down a tripod trying to get me some B-roll. So, but he hung tough. He hung tough, and we were
man.
fine.
So I know that there are stories, some really good stories, that did not make the documentary.
They're slipping away to time. I have to say that there aren't, like I can't remember that phrase that they said to the woman on the ferry anymore. What was it?
Do you want me to say it?
Yeah, because you've obviously heard it recently.
Yes, and trying to write that.
It's like Chibusa.
Babui Chusea Ami Biho, or something very close to that.
I think it's Babui Chuseho.
Babui Chuseo, yeah. Something close to that.
Which is like kiss my ass. And these guys are being uncool to two very innocent women on a ferry boat.
Yes. Yeah, they were. Yes, they were.
I'm not saying they were sexually harassing them. They were just being...
If there are 3 different versions of that story on the Laugh Track podcast.
I would say they were colonialist at best.
I think that's accurate. Yeah. So I definitely go back and listen to the No Laugh Track podcast episodes from 2014 or 15 with Chad, Tom Segura, and Pete Lee, and they all tell 3 different versions of that story. And if you put them all together, you get a very good picture of what actually happened.
Yeah.
And it's very funny.
They were so in love.
Yes, yes, they were. There's another story that
it was such a summer camp kind of trip too. It was those kind of things where you build it's like summer camp where you build these friendships in like 2 minutes, and then they're like the biggest friendship, and it had that feel. And I don't think you don't get that much as a stand-up for real. First of all, you're not working with other headliners usually. It's usually you're just the headliner.
Yeah.
So the chance to hang with 3 headliners and people who are your peers, is more unusual than you'd think.
Yeah. No, just fantastic. I think in the doc, Tom Segura mentions that, like, hey, I don't normally get to hang with headliners.
Right.
Yeah. This is.
And I don't mean to ghettoize non-headlining comics.
No.
But it's a different thing when if you've done it for 10 plus years and you're working with someone in their second year, you've been through a lot more shit.
Yes. So was the video of Chad riding the cover of a trash can down a hill? Was that close to making the movie?
No, because I didn't really know about it until after.
Oh, it was filmed on an iPhone, wasn't it? Because I've seen a rough video of that.
Yeah, I just came across that. I still have it at nearby. I still have it, but it was Pete who shot it.
Oh, okay. So, and then you just brought up Pete. Now, Pete has a amazingly crazy what he describes as near-death story from being in, was it Macau or Singapore that happened?
That was Macau with the big gangster guy.
Yes. Was there any chance that story could that possibly made it into the doc? It didn't, but
it didn't, but that was part of that was just like, why don't we not put the billionaire gangster guy's face in the movie?
Yeah,
maybe he might have a reach that goes beyond Macau. Maybe.
Yeah. For people who don't know, I'm gonna give it.
And besides, the story of that scene was all Segura's joke.
What do you mean?
I mean, the story of Macau was Segura burning,
doing everybody else's material.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is absolutely
and
fantastic.
So there was nothing. I spent the whole movie trying to set up that joke.
Fair enough.
There was nothing I was going to do to distract or get in the way of that paying off.
Yeah. Fair enough. And that's such a.
I do remember that footage of. I had a camera on the audience, and I do remember when Pete was talking to the guy from stage. There were people kind of, making those kind of faces.
Yeah, I mean, Pete. So on the podcast after you guys got back, he tells me that that you guys were told, at least he was told, that if a guy comes in wearing a white suit, get off the stage. Like, don't even address him.
That I have no recollection of that being the case.
Yeah, he told me that was fresh. Like that was within 6 months.
I believe it because I wasn't everywhere at once, and I wasn't having the same conversations because I wasn't I wasn't one of the performers on the tour. So
So at one point,
and we were really limited to, because it was a casino, we were super limited to where we could shoot. Like you notice, there's like nothing from the casino.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't mess with that stuff, do they?
So, and they, and everything feels super strict in Singapore, both China, Macau, which is a part of China, and Singapore, which is its own little police state. It's like you're in good behavior mode.
Yeah,
in these places.
I'm gonna give the real quick version of what happened there. There's a really powerful gangster comes into the club and it says something to Pete. They have a confrontation, basically. At some point, Pete's sitting at the table with this guy, trying to apologize, saying, like, look, I don't want any trouble. And the guy says, sure, have a drink of this glass of champagne I have poured for you. Pete turns it down, and because he's going, I'm an alcoholic, I haven't drank in this many years, I'm not going to do this, thinking, like, this guy's might be poisoning me or something. I don't want to mess with this. And the guy's like, you have to take it. Well, then some other guy comes in. Some other big baller comes in and basically saves Pete and says, I took care of that guy. And I don't even know what that means exactly. Took care of him.
Yeah, well,
he was gone.
We were on a ferry back to Hong Kong at that point with my crew. So, because those guys stayed behind in Macau. That was their last show. And they stayed behind in Macau all night and partied because they were able to take a ferry that basically took them directly to the airport in Hong Kong from Macau.
Okay.
But we still had a couple of days of shooting back in Hong Kong to do. So we had taken off. And so that last night, all the lore about that last night is all those three guys and how they choose, as they would say in Hamilton, who lives to tell your story.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Fair enough. So you haven't been back, have you?
No, I wish. Although, I'm kind of, talking to Lewis, especially, I'm sort of heartbroken by what's happened to Hong Kong, because it was really when I went, I mean, granted, I was there under splendid circumstances.
Yeah.
In terms of fun and interest, but I loved it there. I really liked it there a lot.
Yeah.
And I assume that, if I'm not going to go there to be a dissident, my experience would probably be much the same as it was the first time. But, as an American, you're intensely aware, and as a comedian, even more so, I think, like you're intensely aware of the rule. If there's rules that you're not supposed to break by saying something, you're kind of intensely aware of that. And it feels much more yoking than it probably should be, even,
we don't have time for it right now, but I did see a whole list of all these rules in Singapore. I mean, I know one was mentioned in the doc, like chewing gum.
Yeah.
No chewing gum.
Right. They don't sell it. They don't sell it there. I think you're allowed to have some in your possession, but it's not. It's all, and it's a beautiful place. And if you knew nothing and just went there, you'd go, what a lovely place. And everyone is so well behaved. The only clue is the death threat on the customs form that anyone's, trafficking drugs will be put to death,
Yeah, just that.
But if you know more, you're really aware that there's rules. Whenever you feel like there's rules, especially as the perverse imps that we comics are, it's like there's something in you that just is itchy.
Yeah, well, I mean, that temptation is very strong. Very, very strong. All right, one final thing I want to talk to you about. Your podcast is still going strong with And
if it was ever, it still is.
Mm-hmm. So. With Andy Kindler, Thought Spiral.
Yes.
The thing I want to talk about is my connection to that, in that I take some of the credit of Andy Kindler now being available on Cameo, because it was here on this stage, on this podcast, probably 3 or 4 years ago, that I was really pushing him to be on there. And then within a year, he was on, and I listened to your podcast, and he did not call me by name, which I was a little disappointed in, but he did say the Acme guy pushed me into this. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Acme guy.
And you feel good about that?
I do.
All right.
I looked it up. He's 105 stars for Andy Kindler on Cameo, 197 positive reviews, and he's making money.
No, I think
I made a positive change in someone's life. I wish I could do it closer to
more
home.
That's more than I can say about Andy and what I've done for Andy.
How do you feel about him being available to do celebrity messages on Cameo?
Well, he's afraid to leave his fucking house, so I don't, anything that keeps the fridge full, I'm happy for. You've heard my show, so you know that I feel like it's like this. I mean, like for me, there's no point in doing Cameo because all it is an ego trap.
Yeah.
There's no way that I can get enough cameos to make me feel like I'm not a desperate man.
Yeah, right. Well, if you're
and
charging,
there's very little way for me to feel good about charging someone $30 or $40 or whatever you're going to charge, whatever your price point is. And, granted, I have Mystery Science Theater fans, so I could probably have a good first wave.
Oh, for sure.
But it would, how many of them would be? Could you do it in Servo's voice?
Not that Servo, the other one.
That's right. Oh, you're the bad Servo. Refund.
I got to tell you one final thing about that. If we talked many times about how big of a Mystery Science fan I've been, from the Channel 23 days, right?
Yes.
And so last summer I saw the announcement about that there was another Mystery Science tour going on, and the date for the show in Minneapolis was my birthday. And I'm like, this is meant to be. I have to go to this. I bought tickets. Asked some friends to come with me, bought us all tickets. And then when I was telling my friends more about what I just bought us tickets for, I was like, oh, and I didn't realize that it's not the original cast. It's not the second cast. It's not even the Netflix cast. It's a completely different cast of no one I've heard of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kinda. Yeah.
But it was, what?
Did you go?
It ended up being really fun.
It's still, it's still 500 jokes in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. There's still a ton of laughs. I got to be fans of the new people doing it. It's just I did not do my research there, and
well,
felt a little dumb. I was like, what?
You were going on brand loyalty. You
completely.
You can't be faulted.
No. They got me.
I made a cameo appearance in this new Gizmoplex series. So.
Oh, the brand new season?
Yes.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Okay. How many episodes? 1, 2?
Honestly,
3?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be able to talk about, but what the hell? They haven't told me anything. So I know I'm in at least one episode as Dr. Earhart.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and and I riffed a short with Mary Jo Pehl. So that's somewhere in the pipeline.
Oh, awesome.
So, and I was supposed to do Servo, and somehow that never happened. But
oh, dang. Well, I'm going to keep an eye open for that. That's for sure. Let's see. Is there anything else? We got the cameo, the shows. Is there anything else we should be mentioning? Who is your favorite Batman?
My album Chunks is still on sale for those of you who want to prep themselves.
They didn't pull that off Spotify or whatever it was?
Well, it's not on Spotify, but it's for sale. Buy it.
But buy it, dang it.
What were you going to ask?
My final question is, who is your favorite Batman?
Well, in terms of actual affection, it would have to be Adam West. But in terms of, do I think he's like the most convincing Batman? No. But what's a convincing Batman? The older it is, the more it's relevant to me. So, my toddler to age 20 Batman or toddler to age 15 Batman was Adam West. And then the Tim Burton Batmans. I think I like Michael Keaton the best of the Tim Burton Batmans. And then I don't care. I really because it's Batman, and every time there's a new Batman, it's like, it's so dark. Oh, it's such a dark take. No, it's fucking Batman. It's the same. Yeah. It is the same. His parents were killed by Joker. Now he's Batman. And it doesn't matter how brooding he is. He still doesn't have any superpowers. He's just Batman.
How do they bring that to to get the money in Hollywood? They're like, Batman origin story. Like, you mean like the last one?
Like the last 9?
Yeah, I just don't get it.
So yeah, I can be hooked in by superheroes. I've seen, if not all, most of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I don't go to the theater always for them.
No.
But you can't do anything like that. You can't make humorless comic book movies. To me, it just doesn't. Because for me, obviously there's a great many people you can, but I have no ability to suspend my disbelief. So I'm not going to be able to be so captivated by the story you're putting in front of me that I notice that these are humorless fucks doing that.
And let that be a lesson to Hollywood right there. I agree.
Well, if I've learned anything in my long career, it's that me and Hollywood don't exactly, jibe all the time.
Yep. This is just the latest example.
Our sensibilities are not always in mesh.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. So, once again, I encourage people to come see you here in May at Acme.
Please.
You are one of my favorite comedians. You're one of my favorite follows on social media. Your joke writing is strong. When that comes up as a topic, you're a name that pops into my head immediately. Joke writing.
Well, that's incredibly nice. Thank you.
So that's my selling point. Come see Josh. You will not be disappointed. And thank you for doing this again.
Always a pleasure.
Next time, why don't you drive in and we'll do it in person?
All right, fair enough.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Matt. Thanks. I'll see you soon.